Sony just wrapped up the second of 2 game press conferences that were kind of just dropped on us out of nowhere for today, showing off 10 games on a state of play. And overall, I gotta say, I was pretty pleasantly surprised. I mean, as always, there were certain rumors going on before, or hopes or dreams of things we could see. Silent Hill was making the rounds again. They had mentioned there was going to be PSVR games, which led some people hoping that we were going to get maybe a price point for PSVR 2. Didn't get that either yet, but we did get to see 10 different games, along with a couple other little announcements. One that's pretty cool, one that's, I don't really know what to think yet. As far as games go, for me, the 2 really big peaks are Tekken 8 and Like a Dragon Ishin. Tekken 8 is actually what they hard opened the show with. As of right now, this is in development footage. They refer to it as being something that is, you know, actual game footage or even in-engine footage. It's just, this is kind of an idea of what this is going to look like. This is something that we kind of had just kind of lightly touched on back at EVO. There was a real quick little teaser. Harada showed up for 5 seconds, and then we didn't hear anything about it after. So this is our first really better look at what they're trying to do. It showcased some fighting between Jin and Kazuya and looked absolutely beautiful. It'd be great if the final game does look something similar to that, but again, this is stuff that's in development, so we're gonna have to see what form that takes later. And then Like a Dragon Ishin. So I relatively recently really got into the Yakuza franchise. It was really just starting in 2021 that I blitzed through basically every game in the series that has come out in the West, and one of the few that has not is this one. This is actually one of a pair of spin-off games for Yakuza where it uses a lot of the same cast and characters and voice actors, but instead of taking place in the regular Yakuza universe, it's actually in historical settings in Japan. This is the second one, called Ishin, which takes place during the mid-1800s. As someone who's fallen very hard in love with Yakuza, I am so happy this game's getting ported. I hope that maybe there's a chance we'll get the other one brought over at some point as well, but just the fact that this one alone is even happening, awesome news. RGG is actually doing their own presentation later on at 3 a.m. my time, so I might stay up to watch that, or I'll just watch it first thing tomorrow morning. Now, the big closing game was God of War Ragnarok, which we've already seen little bits and pieces of. There's been a couple different trailers that have dropped showing different aspects. This was basically that same situation. We got to see even more gameplay and just little bits of the storyline in action. It continues to look glorious, and I cannot wait to play it this year. Alongside it, though, there was also the reveal of a limited edition DualSense controller for it. So we're not getting a full-blown system for this release, but we are getting a limited edition controller design that looks really nice. I like the shade of blue that it is. I'm a little give or take with the wolves on the touchpad, but overall I think it's a really clean, nice looking design. Now, alongside these 3 games, which in my mind are the bigger kind of set out of these announcements, there were 7 other titles, 2 of which were PSVR 2 titles. That was the PSVR news we got. One of which was Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and the other one was called Demio. I've actually seen some stuff of Demio before, and it looks really interesting. I'm a big tabletop game fan, so that is a concept that I'm down to check out. Neither of them feels like major PSVR 2 movers, but it is cool to see more content coming for that peripheral. And then out of the other 5 games, overall, solid mix. There were a couple games that didn't really do much for me personally. We've got another quick bit of gameplay for Hogwarts Legacy. There was this car-focused driving game called Pacific Drive, which looks potentially interesting, but I didn't really get anything in that trailer alone that really got me sold on it. Really out of the kind of other side games that were shown in some of the newer ones, the one that has my interest the most is Sin Duality. Now, part of this is because I love mechs, I love big robots, and so the concept of a new mech game coming out is just something that immediately grabs my attention, and the stuff we saw in the trailer does look interesting. Based on what we saw in the trailer, it looks like it's going to be a somewhat standard action-adventure style game, third-person view, shooting mechanics, exploration, or at least some kind of linear platforming design, but the visual style of it, the mech design, all stuff that really spoke to me, so I want to learn more about that. Also, based on the trailer, along with a blog post that went up after, it looks like the game is going to be supporting an online multiplayer component that is tied into the core gameplay, specifically player versus environment, where you might encounter other players trying to do their own thing that might end up messing up with you, while also having to deal with the game's monsters at the same time. We also got another look at Stellar Blade, which I'm actually not sure if it had that official name just yet the first time we saw it. Solid-looking, fast-paced action mechanics, especially with what was shown in this trailer. I was getting really heavy, almost Nier Automata vibes. It's really trying to capture that style of faster-paced action game. And then Team Ninja showed off Rise of the Ronin, which looks like something very heavily inspired by kind of a mixture of similar to things that we saw with Ghost of Tsushima, or as far as a larger franchise goes, Assassin's Creed, which makes it especially funny that they finally announced Codename Red, where there's going to be an Assassin's Creed game taking place in Japan, and then we get this trailer for a Team Ninja game that kind of captures that same essence and vibe. This is another one that I'm definitely really curious about, but just gets outranked a little bit by some of the other ones that we saw at the show. Overall, I think it was actually a pretty good state of play. Some of this definitely relies on the specific of kind of games that you're into. I know that part of the reason why I'm so hyped is because Like a Dragon Ishin is such a awesome announcement, and if you have not played a lot of the other Yakuza games, it's not going to have that same impact for you, which the only thing I can say is you should just go play the Yakuza games and Judgment right now, because they're fantastic, and you should be hyped for this one too. Really, the only thing that brought down the energy for me is they talked a little bit about PlayStation Stars, which I'm still not really sure what the full goal of this is. I know that some people have talked about how this is sort of kind of NFTs, but not really NFTs, because they're not actually attaching real value to them. They're just digital collectibles that you get for doing stuff. I don't know. It's just something that doesn't really make sense to me yet, and I'm not seeing the point of. And maybe my mind will change in the future. But as of right now, I was definitely a lot more hyped about some of the games we saw, and that just felt kind of like a dragging period in the middle of all that. So those are my thoughts in the conference. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did you enjoy the show? What was your favorite thing out of it? What were you hoping to see that wasn't there? Also, I did do a similar video for the Nintendo Direct that was earlier today, so if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to check it out. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button to let me know, or thumbs down if you didn't. It's good for me to know. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys later.